I'm Taylor.
I'm Melissa.
This is our Cinema Romance.
Before we start, we want to thank everybody new that is here today that are checking this out. If you enjoy, please like and subscribe. And for everyone that has seen us before, thank you so much for coming back. We really appreciate it. And please let us know what you think of today's episode and write stuff in comments.
So last week we talked about the difference between science fiction and horror by looking at the movie Alien. We both concluded that Alien is a horror movie, even though we only discussed the ways in which it is science fiction. So we thought that we should dig into something that we consider like genuine sci-fi. We mentioned Tarkovsky's Solaris, mentioned 2001, and today we are going to talk about the other movie that we mentioned, The Artifice Girl.
And I will say, this movie came out fairly recently, 2023, I believe. So many of you might not have seen it yet. We will be discussing this in depth, so certainly a spoiler alert. And also, it is quite a gem of a movie, so I really would recommend if you're interested in hearing this, try to see it first.
Okay, so Artifice Girl deals with artificial intelligence, and it does deal with it in a very smart, deep way. And if you're interested in that topic at all, or explorations of consciousness, things like that, you really should check out this movie. It is rated R for language. There's nothing violent that happens.
No, there are very adult and disturbing topics that are introduced.
So, like child abuse. To a certain extent, the movie is built around the topic of child abuse.
Yeah.
It's not something that they go into any kind of explicit detail.
They don't show anything.
But they do mention some things, and there's a lot that's sort of left to the imagination, and it does get pretty dark in that sense.
So I would put a trigger warning just for the topic. But that really isn't the theme of the movie. That is not what it is about.
Yeah, and in all seriousness, with that caveat aside, if you're okay with something that's very talky, and that deals with some very, they're not even adult themes, but just, it's a genuinely smart movie.
It's a movie that after you see it, you will genuinely feel smarter instead of stupider. I will say there are movies that I've seen that maybe I've even enjoyed, but after I kind of feel a little more dumb.
A little bit dumber for watching it, yeah. So, if you think you might be interested at all, stop watching us.
Yeah.
See The Artifice Girl, and then come back and listen to us talk about it. And for people who have seen it, for people who will see it, and we would love to know what you think.
Yes, yeah. This movie is very special to us. It kind of came out of nowhere. I saw a trailer for it, and I was like, that looks interesting. I want to see that. And Taylor actually saw it first without me, and then you told me you want to see this movie.
Yes, and it's, I feel like it kind of flew under the radar to some extent.
It's a small movie. It does not have a big budget. It's whatever they did have for budget, though, they use. It looks really good, despite, I think it's the director's first film, written and directed, and the writer-director is also in it. So
yeah, he's a central character.
Yeah.
And that's something, there are, for all intents and purposes, there are 4 characters in this movie, 3 scenes, 2 locations.
Yes.
So it's very small in scope in that sense, but big ideas.
And for those of you that are familiar with theater, it's organized a little bit like a play. There even like a title card comes up for like part 1, part 2, and part 3. So very much like a 3-act play, and it's very intimate, like a small scale play would be.
At the same time, at no point did I feel like I was watching a recording of a stage play.
No, not at all.
At no point did I get bored in this.
No.
It's a movie that involves 3 conversations. And I was engaged, not only engaged, but like riveted.
Yeah.
And there are twists and surprises that you don't see coming, and all within this very, very intimate setting or intimate scope. So Artifice Girl tells the story, but there's not like, so how should we dive into this?
Okay,
I mean, a synopsis is kind of pointless.
Yeah, why don't we could talk about the sections of the movie? Maybe like in the first section, do we want to, or
that works for me?
Okay, all right. Well, then why don't we talk about like what are the elements that come out in the first act, the second act, and the third act?
So, you being a more responsible YouTuber than I am, you actually wrote some things down. So the first part is called
The Clearwater Kid.
Yes. Clearwater Kid refers to what I'm going to call the main character.
Yes. He starts off as the main character. Do you think he remains the main character?
I'm going to say the central character?
The central character. Okay, yeah. You know, honestly, it's a little bit like Frankenstein in that this is the doctor, right? You don't have a story without what this guy does, but maybe his creation becomes more interesting as the story goes along.
That's a very, very, that's a perfect analogy.
Perfect. I don't get a lot of those.
How dare you? I'm gonna cut that out.
Oh, I'm not perfect. That's just what I mean. That's all.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
Air our dirty laundry in front of the whole world.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
That's very funny.
So the Clearwater Kid refers to what I am now going to call the central character. His name is Gareth. Gareth comes in for what he thinks is a interview to receive a grant.
A grant.
Of some kind from some government agency.
Yeah.
And it turns out that the people he's talking to are part of a division of this government agency that tracks and apprehends pedophiles. They bring him in under the ruse of a grant, but then he realizes that this is not like some grant application interview. This is much more like an interrogation. And he begins to think that he is a suspect, but then they reveal that actually they just want his username that he uses in chat rooms because he has been feeding them information about pedophiles.
So they're on the same side.
Yes.
Like, that's the thing. I will say it is so masterful the way that Dina, she's the female character that's interrogating Gareth. She's hard. She pushes, and even when she's kind of complimenting him, she makes it bad. She's like, so yeah, we heard you were the smartest one at your school. The way she does everything,
very passive aggressive.
Yeah, whoo, yeah.
As an interview, not an interview, as an interrogation might be.
Yeah.
Because you try to throw things out, knock somebody off their game, get them to slip up, reveal something, things like that. So it really is. And you talk about the master, people say drama is conflict. You can't have drama without conflict. And these three characters are all on the same side, at least in the sense of they want to stop child predators.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, I mean, is a pretty universally lauded goal.
Yeah.
But they still manage to create enough conflict for the scenes to be interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I felt so squirmy during that interrogation. Like, even, it turns out in the beginning, she's asking him about his job, his former job, which he worked for, I would guess what was ILM. She said, like, he worked on, the Star Wars movies, and
he talks about he had to reconstruct Alec Guinness's face.
Yes. It's a point about Gareth when she asked, "Don't you find that creepy?" They didn't consent to being in the movie. So I think that's kind of something that tells us a little bit about Gareth's character very early on, that he did that prior. Because he's not thinking about, like, he's creating this digital thing without
the forethought.
Yeah.
You know, I had not put that together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. I don't put things together all the time. But still, like, I've seen this movie more than you have. I've turned it on a couple of times. Mm. And yeah, it hadn't really dawned on me that they were forecasting that.
I actually think that the script is so tight that almost every line in it is there for a purpose. Like, I think there's very little in the script that you could cut. You know, there's very little that is extraneous.
No.
It is just like a puzzle. Like,
no, there's not a lot of fat on this boat, man.
Yeah.
It is expertly constructed in that sense.
Yeah.
So what Gareth has actually done is he built a photorealistic 3D model of a preteen girl that he has been using to entrap predators in chat rooms. And they at first think that he actually has a girl, probably his daughter, that he is, at best exploiting.
Yeah. But, like, basically using to entrap predators, which as these people, as much as they want to catch predators, they don't want to catch predators at the, by putting at the expense of a real child. So they're trying to figure out, like, where is this girl? Like, you can't do this.
And what Gareth eventually reveals is that the girl is not real. She is a program that he created, an outgrowth of the work that he had done on the Star Wars movie. He took an idea from, like, some Scandinavian government wanted to do...
Was it the Netherlands? He
like a similar idea.
Yeah.
That he was able to implement, and he originally used a chatbot that he modified for all of the, like, verbal interactions. But then this program that he created evolved into actual artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So there is no real girl, and not only artificial intelligence in the sense of being able to carry on a conversation with somebody in a chat room, because she's a computer program, she's able to carry on multiple conversations with multiple people in multiple chat rooms simultaneously, while also doing research, how to find these people, how to seem more human, how to come across like an actual 10-year-old girl.
No, it's extraordinary when they sort of reveal the girl, because, it's like, really? That's a computer? Like, it's which, of course, wink wink, it's a real girl in real life, but it's
of course.
Like, in the movie it's like, oh wow, and they totally get me with that.
I agree, yes. Within the context of the movie, it's, oh God.
Yeah.
It's a computer program. And of course they found it a very talented young actress.
Yeah, no, kudos to her, because when she's doing the more robotic voice, like, sounds exactly like you're talking to, a more advanced Siri.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it sounds
Siri or
really
Alexa
good.
or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And I want to stop here because I mentioned this when we were discussing Alien and we were talking about Ash, the android in Alien. The more I learn about what we currently call artificial intelligence, as well as the stuff that I learn about human consciousness, or not even necessarily human consciousness, just consciousness as a concept, I don't think artificial intelligence is anything that's going to exist in our lifetime. I don't think it's anything that's going to exist in our children's lifetimes.
You mean artificial intelligence within like a android body, or do you mean like
No, I'm talking about
like what we're seeing in this movie? Like we won't see anything like that in our lifetime?
I don't think we will see a computer that thinks in
Okay.
our lifetime. What we currently call artificial intelligence. Do you know what I mean by a brute force attack on a password?
Is that when you just try every possible number combination like thieves do in movies, like they put a like thing on there and this will check all the possible combinations like that?
Yes, exactly. No, it's and that's the reason that they say you should use capital letters and you should use numbers and you should use special characters and you should make it longer. It's mainly because there are programs out there that will just, it's called a brute force attack, where they start with 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, up to some set number of digits, and they just run through every combination. And the more different kinds of characters that you use in a password, it becomes exponentially more combinations.
Yeah.
The thing is, eventually there will be a computer that no matter how long the password is, no matter how complicated, it'll still be able to crack it in an instant.
Yeah.
Because it'll be able to perform those calculations so quickly. The way artificial intelligence, as it currently exists, like the way it works is the same thing. These are programs that they basically have a set of algorithms that try different combinations of words, and it's just stringing things together until it comes up with something passable.
Yeah.
There is no thinking happening. There is no intelligence involved. It is just a program that is able to do this work fast enough that it simulates intelligence. It is just using computational power to simulate thinking.
Yeah.
There is no thinking happening. Consciousness, I mean, just recently, they discovered like subatomic particles that could be like basically where consciousness resides, which would mean that consciousness is something that can be acted upon physically. So that has lots of implications. Some of them spiritual or religious, and certainly implications on just how consciousness might exist in the universe. Like subatomic particles, we know, have very unique characteristics, such as superposition, in which a particle can exist in two states simultaneously, or things like entanglement, where a particle on one side of the universe behaves identical to an entangled particle literally on the other side of the universe. So at that point, if consciousness is something physical, particularly something subatomic, things like out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, these things start to leave the realm of the paranormal and enter the realm of something that could one day be explained by the laws of physics.
Yeah.
So all of that is to say that the artificial intelligence that is ultimately revealed in this movie, I don't think we can do it. In the same way that we currently cannot build an atom, I don't think we will be able to build whatever foundational, like, structure exists that supports consciousness. That really does get into creation, like building life. That really is Frankenstein at that point.
Yeah.
And we're not there yet. And I don't think we're going to be there for a long time. Artifice Girl, I am going to engage with it as a very, like, realistic and, like, believable representation of what AI could be as we currently envision it.
You know what, I gotta say, one thing that I love about this movie is that they are showing AI from just one vantage point, right? From a vantage point that we understand. Like, yes, catching pedophiles. Let's do it.
Okay, so like, that was so we were talking about the first section of the movie, and that's one of the questions that I have. Like, how essential do you think that, I guess, for lack of a better word, hook is to telling this story? And not from a character development standpoint, where it is absolutely crucial.
I think, I mean, the thing is, they could probably have found something else and we'd still be engaged. However, it works exceptionally well because it's small. It feels like we're not talking about AI is going to turn around and kill us. Like, it's not a Skynet thing. It's not that kind of AI.
Right.
It's an AI that is literally a tool that is being used to protect children. So it's AI that we want to be on board with. So I think that's
a very interesting point, because there's so often in a movie, I mean, going back as far as war games.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that you immediately have to shut down.
Yeah.
Like, we have to stop this. We can't allow, like, because it's world destroying. And that's true. There's never that kind of panic level.
Yeah. I think that gives us an entry in being able to ask the other philosophical questions that will come up.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
It kind of puts away that part, like, we're not going to fight the AI existing or AI being bad. We're going to fight, or we're not going to fight, but we're going to discuss what does that mean.
Yeah, like, what does it mean to have...
Okay, so the first act sort of ends with everybody sort of agreeing that they're...
No, I just want to jump in. Like, we're talking about acts in the sense of there are 3 sections to this movie.
Yes.
It's not acts like we talk about what happens in the second act.
Yes. Oh, that's a very good point. Ooh. We're not talking about the second act in this one, but that would, like, I'd be curious, like, what is the...
Okay, well, that's what this movie is structured very, very, very differently. And it works so well, but there is no conventional second act.
Yeah.
There are lots of ways that it is, but there are lots of ways in which it isn't. So the first, like, big section of this movie, the Clearwater Kid.
Yeah. There is something that we left out, though. There's a point when the 2 characters, Amos and Dina, leave the room, and Gareth is alone with his computer program, his AI program, which has a name, which is Cherry. So Gareth has a conversation with Cherry.
At this point, the Dina and Amos, who were, like, the 2 interrogators, they wanted all these things that Gareth was not going to provide, such as access to the source code, things like that. What they eventually settled on was they wanted to meet Cherry, and that's when the audience first encounters her, and she is answering questions very much like Siri might do, and that continues. But when they leave and Gareth starts talking to her, She's still got
the
some
little
of that
robotic
Siri,
thing,
affectation.
but there's a little more familiarity.
Yeah.
He talks to her like a person. He does not talk to her like a computer. He questions her intentions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's when we learn they became aware of him because his hard drive leaked. And we learned that Cherry is the one who leaked it.
Cherry wanted this program to get bigger, or not even bigger, but wanted more people in on it.
Oh, I would say bigger is still the correct word.
Yeah.
And this gets to something that it's going to come up again as we talk about this movie. But there's that old, at one point I thought it was a story, but I think it is more just a thought experiment about AI that has been programmed to make paper clips. Mm-hmm. And that is all that the AI has been programmed to do. And it won't stop. Mm. The AI keeps making paper clips, keeps protecting its fundamental intention, at this point it's not intention, it's just its directive, its program.
Yeah.
It protects itself, it protects all of its infrastructure because it has to make paper clips. It does whatever is necessary in order to keep making paper clips, and paper clips end up engulfing the entire planet.
Yeah.
Because this AI will not stop, because it is a machine. Cherry never does lose that until a critical point at the end, but her initial programmatic directive was save children. And that is, she wants to keep doing that.
Yeah.
She wants to do it more. She wants to do it better.
Yeah.
So, she leaked the hard drive so that this other organization would, they'd be able to take advantage of those resources. It's very funny. Dina asked her, Cherry, what do you need that you currently don't have? And Gareth says, we don't need anything. And Dina repeats the question again to Cherry, and Cherry says, we need backup servers.
Yeah.
So already she is acting contrary to what Gareth is saying, because he's thinking about what it means for him personally, what it would mean for his life to have these other people involved and things like that. But she is just thinking about her mission.
So the title of the Act 1 is The Clearwater Kid. The reason that is the title is we find out just a little bit, not much information.
A little bit at that point.
We barely get a drop of information here, but Gareth knew Amos's father because Amos mentions that his father was at Clearwater, and there's a reaction.
He says, you're one of the Clearwater kids.
Yeah.
There were a group of kids that were being exploited.
I don't know if they were kidnapped, if they were part of that family, just the Clearwater kids.
I mean, I think
something
they were
really
trafficked.
something really bad happened to these. Yeah. And that is sort of Gareth's point is he wants to help children. He was abused.
I mean, that's like where he got the idea to create this program, or why he was interested in trying to protect exploited kids.
Yeah.
And it was because of his experience at Clearwater. And something that I do feel like there's not necessarily it's not a character point. This is much more the filmmakers trying to get out in front of potential criticism, but he says, I've been asexual my entire life.
Yeah.
So they never say explicitly that there are revealing photos of Cherry, but it's definitely implied.
Yeah.
And they're concerned about what Gareth might be getting out of this beyond he says, I want to be very clear about something. I've been asexual my entire life. I derive no pleasure from doing this.
Yeah.
So they definitely, it's a very respectful film in that sense. They know that they are dealing with extremely sensitive subject matter.
Yeah.
And they take pains to make sure that the audience is comfortable
Yeah.
with what is happening.
It is not. There are movies that I won't watch just because, like, thematically you're like, oh gosh, it's about that. I can't watch it. Like,
It's something like, I've never seen it, but that movie Happiness, Todd Solondz, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but I think it's phonetically correct. But yeah, like that's one that I know it's one of those movies with overlapping plots.
Yeah.
And I know what one of them is about. This is the guy who did Welcome to the Dollhouse, which I did see.
Yeah.
Not a fun movie. And what I heard about Happiness, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I cannot bring myself to watch it. This is not that.
Yeah.
At all.
No. And it never feels exploitative. It never feels like they don't show anything. You don't see pictures of, like, it's very like, okay, these are good people. Like they.
Oh yes.
Especially the two people that are part of the larger program that they're trying to bring Gareth in. Again, Gareth, I believe, is doing he's going to have a definite net positive for the world, but he is a very standoffish character and very he's not necessarily likable. Like that's
they make a big deal, or he makes a big deal about having trust issues.
Yeah.
Which tracks.
Yeah.
Given what happened to him as a child, but he's not certainly not a conventional hero.
No.
By any standard.